The holidays are back at Starbucks, and there's so much to share. With classics like Caramel Brulee Latte, Peppermint Mocha, and Chestnut Praline Latte, we're celebrating everyone's flavor of festivity. Order yours in the app.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back.
Misfit Nation. The Misfit Nation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome to our Sunday after dinner show. This time coming at you from lovely Louisiana, down here to help out at the wild and wonderful Fort Johnson. Get these guys ready for their next rendezvous with Destiny here. Great guest time. But first, let's give a shout out to RJ, who's down with pneumonia. Hopefully he gets better soon. He never can do things small, has to go with the biggest diseases, can't just get a common cold, has to go for the all-out thing, has to get pneumonia. But we're thinking about your brother and come back when you're healthy. So our next guest story is one of triumph over adversity. He's a former high school football player, Eagle Scout, United States Marine, and a powerlifter. His life took a drastic turn just weeks after receiving the Officer of the Year award for his police department in Louisville in 2003. A life-changing crash left him for dead on the side of a country road, resulting in the loss of his right leg above the knee. Despite this profound setback, he refused to let it define him. He returned to his career as a police officer. He excelled flying the department's air unit, working homicides as detective, featured on A&E's The First 48, and then he's retired as a police sergeant. So now, without further ado, let's welcome Kevin Trees to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show. I'm excited to be here tonight, and I'm excited to get to talk to your audience just for a little bit and share a little bit about me. So thank you. Appreciate you.
Outstanding. It's great to have you here. I know it took us brother of ours, both of ours, Willis, to get us together and brought you in here from home front sit rep. I was just listening to his show before. He had a pretty good guest on, and he gave me a shout, so I just gave him one in return. And, of course, thanks for bringing you to me. Kevin, if you don't mind, tell us a little more about yourself from as far back as you want to go to how we got here, because I just gave basically a 2-sentence interview about you.
Oh, geez. I grew up from the one thing I wanted to impress upon everyone that's hearing this tonight before I tell my story is I'm a normal person. I'm a regular, average person, just like the rest of us are. No special anything. I grew up a poor kid, didn't really have many benefits. My father hasn't been in my life. So I didn't have a silver, spoon in my mouth or anything growing up. But, I just, back in when I was like 19 years old, and I'll go quickly with it. I became homeless, and I slept in a car for a month, and I slept under a shower curtain in a backyard after the car was taken back for a month. And about that time, I'm pissed off at the world, hating everything. So I go up to the recruiter's office, and I pretty much said, I asked 2 questions. I have 2 questions. I said, who's got aviation? Because I was big into aviation at the time. And they all said they did. And I said, well, who's got the hardest boot camp? Because I was just hating myself in life. And of course, the Marine steps forward, and I joined the Marine Corps. And I know you're going to argue that as an Army dog, but so anyway, 1 month later, I was down in Paris Island in 89. So I ended up doing 4 years in the Marine Corps. Not a combat vet, but I did deploy Medfot and spent time in Israel and North Africa and stuff. And got out and got a finance degree, and sat behind my little square office at 27 years old for 2 years. And at 29 years old, I said, holy hell, my ADHD and OCD and all that's not going to work. So I ended up joining the police department. So that was 1999. And then by 2002, I'd come up with a program that was shutting down crack houses and abating problem properties in the city of Louisville. So for that, I received the Officer of the Year award for that, for my work doing that. And then as a highlight of that is that as much of a highlight as that was in my career, 3 weeks later, after doing surveillance one night, I decided to go ride my motorcycle before I had to pick up the kids from school. And I hit a bad road, which made me lose control. I sped up and I slammed into a tree at 60 miles an hour on a motorcycle, which hurt. It hurt a lot, But anyway, and so pretty much, I mean, I can blow through that real fast and let you ask questions. But to date, on my 34th surgery, I was in ICU for 2 months straight. I went to a nursing home. I went to Fraser Rehab, a rehab facility, for months because I wasn't walking. And by the time I got done, I still wasn't walking. I was in a wheelchair. And my 34th surgery, another failed knee replacement. So I was like, just cut my leg off, man. I got to get on with life. I was like 35, 36 years old. I had 2 young kids. So I elected to have my leg amputated. And then
that's a huge decision.
Man, you're not kidding. And the one thing I don't think a lot of people realize, and of course, the amputee community is really small in America. There's only about 2.2 million of us out of 350 million people. So
right.
That's a whole dynamic, that we really don't get into a lot with. And unfortunately, the amputee community in America as a whole is kind of underserved, in my opinion. But it was like losing a family member. It's like losing somebody you love, I mean, I was an athlete, I was a powerlifter, I was a football player, I did all these things. And then one day no longer have a leg. So after about 2.5 years of fighting that, of not walking, doctors telling me I'll never do my job again. Doctors telling me I should retire. Doctors telling me I'll be addicted to pain medicines. 6 months after I got my leg amputated, October 2005, I did everything I needed to do to get back on the police department, and I was sworn back in at that time. And wow. I was actually in the air unit at that time, and I was a co-pilot in MD 500, a police helicopter. So I was actually flying that thing one-legged, and then I transitioned over to the homicide. Then I was a homicide detective for 3.5 years, one-legged. And those are long, long hours when you're on homicide scenes, standing around. And then about the time I'm completely burned out and can't take any more negativity about life, as I got promoted to sergeant. So they put me back in the West End, the tougher part of town, for the last 9 years. So I retired in 2019, and I was trying to find my way since. It's been tough. I've had my experience we can talk about in a little bit. But, that was the thing. I just want to make sure everybody understands that, look, man, I didn't do anything. I guess what I did was extraordinary. However, it's nothing too extraordinary for anyone else to not be able to do. And that's always been my message, It's always been, So without further ado, I guess to your folks out there, that was what I did. That was an 8-minute dissertation. So
8 minutes, that's pretty good.
That wasn't too bad. So now you know a little bit more about me, and I can fill in the holes as we go along. But anyway,
that I know in when we're in the green room, we were talking about transition. We were talking about your time with the First 48. Go a little more into what all the stress is having the First 48 following you around when you're doing a case.
Well, first of all, for me being a homicide detective, it's I have a lot of empathy, because especially for what I went through. You have to understand, and I've had 45 surgeries to date. I've been in and out of that hospital. I've experienced, I was in a coma once, which they thought I was going to die. I hit the tree, which they thought I was going to die. And then 2 years ago, I became septic, but that was after. So it really gave me more empathy, I think, than the average person. So being a homicide detective for me was a little more taxing, because when a victim's mom called me at 3:00 in the morning, I would talk to them until they were done talking, because I couldn't stand to not talk to them, because I knew that they obviously were calling me for a reason. They needed me for a reason. So the But so being just in general, being a homicide detective was taxing, and that's, it's the burden that you carry around on your shoulder, especially the ones you solve most. We can solve most homicides, but being able to get enough evidence to get them into a court is a whole different day, But we do solve most of them. But as far as the first 48 came out in 2008, I think it was. And it was funny. I mean, at first, they just want to follow you around and they want to be right in your lap and everything. But the one thing people don't understand is when you're trying to talk to a witness, the last thing a witness that wants to be on the down low wants is a camera in their face, So it was funny. There'd be times where I'd be like, all right, you're going to have to go across the street. I'd be in the projects or something, trying to interview somebody on the front porch, and I'd like, dude, you got to go across the street. You got to turn off your light. You got to, but across the street, he might get mugged, because it's so dangerous in some of these places we went to, so it was fun, man. There was a few times they wanted me to say some scripted lines, and I was like, man, I wouldn't say that. That sounds ridiculous, man. I was a cop for 21 years. I'm not going to say, hey, let's go catch the bad guy today. We're going to throw about 10 cuss words in there and have a little bit more colorful description. So I said a lot of the things my own way in the first 48, but it was kind of funny. So no, it was a good experience. And actually, the producer that did the season 10 show that I did, that my show in season 10, and I was on there for a bunch of episodes, but the one that it was my case with, we were the first hour-long first 48 show, according to the producer. And wow. It was our show. And because my show involved a mom and a dad getting killed in front of their children, so we had a double homicide, and then we had like 4 kids in there. So it was kind of a messy thing in the projects anyway. But I went on to be in a movie because the producer of that show, that episode, wrote a movie, and he wanted to recast me as a cop. So anyway, it's been fun, man. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been interesting. This leg that I wear, this prosthetic leg I wear, I used to go up to Wisconsin and do commercials for Autobach out of Germany, and advertisements. And, so it's kind of been like, me losing my leg sucks every day. And that's the one thing I tell new amputees. It's just the way it is. It's going to suck every day. But once you get past that 30 seconds in the very beginning, when you got to put your prosthetic on, get moving through life, it doesn't suck so bad, but there's a lot to be taught from all my experiences, I guess. And that's why I try to share with everyone, especially new amputees, so.
Yeah, that's outstanding, especially with, like you said, the community of amputees isn't as big. It's not every block you're going to find someone's an amputee. You said 2.1 million out of the 300 million that we have. Yeah. So it's not like you're just going to run into one every day. So it's good to have someone that's going to be a mentor like yourself, who's kind of been there, done that for a little while, to sit down with them. I know after the Boston Marathon bombing, when a lot of the people lost their legs or limbs there, they brought in soldiers or military personnel who lost their limbs to sit and talk with them, to tell them everything would be all right. And I bet that really boosted their morale. And the same thing you do with others when they go through the same series, surgeries, life examples now.
It does. And, the one thing that no one wants in this world to feel, and of course we deal with it with PTSD, we deal with it with soldiers, we deal with it PTSD with first responders, is the one thing no one in this world wants to feel like is they're alone. No one in the world understands me. There's no one else in this world that understands me, and you've got experiences, I've got experiences, every one of us in this world has an experience. And I think God gives us experiences so we can share with other people, the adversities to overcome. And it's not for us just to hold to ourselves, because if you do, you're either pouting or being a whiner or you've crawled in a hole to die, But it's our responsibility to share with people and to let other amputees that I do mentor. The first thing I say is, dude, I get it. I've been there. I know. I've had 45 surgeries. I get it. I've been in and out of that damn hospital so many freaking times. I hate it. I got PTSD from hospital stays, and that's the honest to God's truth. I can't stay overnight in a hospital. I freak the hell out. They have got to dope me up. Seriously.
Wow.
I tell them straight up, you've got to give me something, because I will freak out. I'm that patient, But I'm not the only one. I'm not the only amputee that feels that way. So no, I'm extremely transparent. Like tonight, you can ask me whatever the hell you want to ask me. I'll tell you, because someone else needs to hear maybe something I have to say, an experience. So anyway.
So I guess we'll move into your transition from being a police officer for those 20 years after basically two other chapters before the Marines as a financial worker, and then the police for 20 years. And you said that transition was just rough. And we know that on our side. It's about coming out after being a police officer for that long and solving crimes and helping your community. What happened that next day when it was all over?
I mean, let me just back up real quick. You got to understand that I did some math once, and I've seen over 400 dead people, and I've seen the babies and I've seen the all the traumatic things that combat vets have even seen, missing parts and heads and stuff, and that's just the nature of being a homicide detective. And what happens is, in order for you to be a successful homicide detective, or even in the West End where I worked, is you kind of have to check your emotions. So after a while, you just kind of don't have them because you can't operate if you do. The same with combat vets. You just got to go. You got to do your thing. You're not thinking about it. And so for me, it was 21 years of death, because I started in the West End in 1999. So I started, my first homicide was a 14-year-old girl that got shot through the head after coming home from an amusement park, and it just snowballed from there. So anyway, and then the last 9 years, I was a police sergeant in the West End. So I dealt with police chases, barricaded subjects, shootings, police shootings, hostage situations, domestic violence, all the stuff that a sergeant needs to come out and coordinate for SWAT and all that stuff. So I went from really, really high levels of stress and operating successfully, like most of us do, first responders and military, operating under extremely high levels of stress and anxiety and excitement, and adrenaline. To the very next day, it was nothing. And the way I usually put it is, I went from dealing with complete chaos, which I operated the best in. I was very successful in operating chaos, to trying to figure out what day of the week I'm going to mow the grass. and that's, the truth. And I was going to, and the reason I retired, there were the first of the month that I was eligible to retire. I decided, you know what, I'm going to work 2 more years. I'm a sergeant. I'm a good spot, and don't really have to go out on the streets as much as I used to. I'm old and one-legged anyway. So, that was the first of the month. But by the end of the month, they kept changing the pension in Kentucky so much that it was hurting me. I'd already been hurt once by the pension changes, and I got nervous. So by the end of the month, first of the month, I was deciding I'm working a couple more years mentally. By the end of the month, I was getting a plaque saying, "Thank you for your service," And it's a lot like the military, like when we left, it's like, "We love you. You're awesome. You were a great boss. You're a great leader. Bam, here's your plaque, go enjoy life." And that's the thing. I didn't have a plan for retirement. I just didn't have one, because I planned on working 2 more years, and paying off the house, and then, and being one-legged, I've slowed down a lot, so I didn't really have a plan for retirement. So honestly, that very first day, I also work on cars. I built a 67 Camaro in my garage, from the frame off. And, the first day out there, I would tinker with the car, drink a beer, tinker with the car, drink a beer. Next thing I know, every day I'm getting drunk. every day. And I'm not meaning to. I'm not like, I'm going to get drunk, this is my goal for today. I'm out of sheer boredom, drinking while I mow the grass, drinking while I work on the car, drinking while I weed eat, drink whatever, just have a beer. After about a month of doing that is when all the memories that I packed away nicely decided to come back and visit, and I got this analogy that I often use when I talk to other groups and stuff that, life is kind of like you're driving through life and you're in a pickup truck, right? And as you go through life, you have good experiences and you have negative experiences. And for each one of those experiences, we take them and we throw them in the bed of the truck, like an old crumpled up can. And as long as we keep moving forward through life, everything in that bed of that truck is going to sit next to the tailgate, right? It's just going to stay back there. The day you retire, the day you slam on those brakes, all that shit comes forward. And now you're not dealing with it one at a time. You're dealing with it all at one time. So instead of us processing trauma one at a time, one dead child at a time, one dead whatever at a time, it all came back. So now I'm drinking to forget the past. Now I'm drinking to medicate, So I went down that road it was ugly, a year and a half. I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't going to kill myself. But if I laid on that ground and drank myself to death and didn't wake up that next day, then so be it, So I found my own hole. And it's been a challenge to crawl out of it. But, I'm getting to a point in life now where I'm a little bit happier. I'm trying to figure out what that means. And I'm slowly getting there. So, man, it's tough. I tell people all the time, especially first responders, I'm like, you better have a plan. You can't go from high levels of anxiety and stress and all this and not have a plan and go from nothing, one of the byproducts to this day is apparently the high levels of stress and anxiety, or the high levels of stress masked the anxiety that I had on the police department. So when I retired, I developed anxiety real bad, which I asked a lot of other first responders, hey, did you get anxiety? Did you develop an anxiety when you retired? And I would say 8 out of 10, if they're honest with themselves and me, which, cops are like military, we're tough guys, right? 8 out of 10 said they all developed anxiety, and I think it's just our body's response to no longer having that constant adrenaline, So I just think that's
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
and you have that the void of adrenaline causes you to think of other things, and now
it really
you can actually
does.
see. You get that, like you and your team. It was solving the crimes in the West End or solving a homicide, and then now you don't have those apertures anymore. You have to find something to keep your head going, and that's when anxiety creeps in.
And I think the biggest thing, especially, and this isn't a dig on, this is just, I read a lot, I study a lot, I study a lot of psychology. And, the thing that keeps men going, and it does to women, but, we're kind of more ego driven. We tend to be a little more type A ego driven, than women are. And the thing that keeps men going is us having some kind of a sense of purpose in life. We have to have a sense of purpose. And if we don't have a sense of purpose, I mean, we're as good as dead, because when we start floundering, we learn to live in floundering, So, that was a big thing for me. And I went from being a very important person, a police sergeant in charge of a lot of important things, life and death. And, as a homicide detective, obviously, solving homicides. And all of a sudden I'm no longer important,
Right.
And man, that was tough.
It's like running into a wall.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. It's we learn everything. And people like, well, I didn't let the police department define me, and first responders are bad about this. No, I didn't, I didn't let being a cop define who I am as a person. But the fact of the matter is you do, especially if you do it 20 years, just like you did. It's like, you're still doing military stuff now and you've retired, you're just, I mean, it's who you are, it's who you are, and it's who I am. So, that was hard. So I try to always warn people, man, if you're going to retire, people go, man, I can't wait to retire. I can't wait to retire. Well, that's awesome. But when you retire, what are you going to do? I'm going to sit on my ass. No, you're not. Maybe for 2 weeks, a month. You're going to take a vacation, go on a cruise. You're going to mow the grass 10 times and be tired of it. So yeah, you have to have a plan, man. You got to have a hobby or a plan or have something. And, first responders, we're terrible, man. We don't talk about PTSD at all.
Right.
But, I know guys, I mean, hell, I've been shot at twice in the West End. And I know a lot of guys that have been shot at and shot. Just doesn't make big news because they live. But, these are all sources of PTSD, the things we see, the tragedies we see, man.
I mean, even the 400 people that you had to see them on the last day of their lives. 400 people. That's 400 bodies right there. Most people don't see one in their lifetime.
Oh, and two of them,
let alone 400.
Two of them died in our arms. Two of them, two of them were sucking chest wounds, and we did everything we possibly could. But at the end of the day, we let them. They had to expire right there because we were waiting on the ambulance to show up. And, it's frustrating because then you have, people in the crowd that are standing around the police tape or sitting there yelling at you like, you don't care about this guy, and they'll use whatever excuse, they possibly have. And you don't care about this guy. And that's why he died, and so you have to kind of get all that out of your head as well, only to be able to do your job. So, yeah, it's tough. It was tough. It is tough.
It is. So. We got a question from the audience right now from our resident hillbilly. Actually, he's in Kentucky, in Katie's. He wants to know: did you get disdain and hatred from the public while you were on the force, and if so, how did you deal with it?
Did I get what now? I'm sorry.
Disdain, people against the police.
Oh, shoot. From day, I can see it now. I'm on my phone, so I'm blind too. Disdain, absolutely. No, the first day I was on the job, I started getting called racist names. I was a white cop in the hood. And at the time, it was probably 99% black folks where I worked. So yeah, I mean, from day one, I experienced racism and hatred towards me. How did I deal with that? Man, you know what? I mean, honestly, I didn't take any of it personally. They could, I'm gonna do this to your daughter, or this to your wife, or whatever to try to get your goat. I'll kick your ass to these handcuffs or all that stuff. But you got to understand, I was 6'2", 245 pounds, about 11 to 13% body fat. I was a pretty jacked person, and this was after the Marine Corps and after, I'd had kids and stuff. So I was level-headed. I'd already had some experiences in life. I was a big dude, so I didn't get intimidated much. So I just didn't let it bother me. I just didn't take it personal. Excuse me saying this, it's out of tongue, but I mean, if one of them showed up on my front door and broke in, I'm going to blast them. But short of that, they're going to be there. I'm going to be here. You know what I'm saying? As long as you stay out of my life, I'm good. A lot of cops,
I know when. I know that's a hard line.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We have a lag.
I know that's a hard line for a lot of police officers, especially younger ones who haven't had the experience or life experiences to deal with the "we hate you, you suck, I'm going to kill you" stuff. It's hard for them to keep their cool until maybe they have a mentor that's been on the force or someone that got their brain taken out of the Marine Corps boot camp and given back on exit to do other jobs to keep that level head. So I think that's where that line is that you see on the ones on TV are usually the younger officers or guys who just have lost their way at the end.
Well, that's that's a whole nother show, honestly, because I was on the job during the 5 pillars of policing that Obama came out with. I was on the job when the Ferguson, Missouri shooting happened, and then the Baltimore, and then all the highlighted shootings that really, created a rift between the police officers and the community or the country as a whole. So, I mean, I got to experience and see firsthand how all this played out, and when I became a police officer, I was 29 years old. I was older. It was a rare day when we had young people, going through the academy with me. I mean, I was in the academy with accountants and all these people that had engineers and, and they decided they want to do something more with their lives. So we had been around a little bit. You could hire military people. It was easier. You could, the feel good days of hiring weren't really, we just hired people that were successful and productive, and especially veterans. They did a good job. The young guys today, they let their ego get involved. The people that the people that were good cops when all this started happening retired. They took their pensions and ran. They didn't want to deal with it no more. The problem with what's happening in our country today and this disdain for police officers is that's cool and all. And, and I agree that there are bad cops, and I don't know a single cop that wants to actually work with a bad cop. So, I just need to put that out there. It's not that we have a thin blue line veil that we're trying to secretly cover for everybody, because, the way I used to tell my guys is I got a mortgage to pay too, and I'm not lying for you. So if you F up, you need to freaking tell me you F up, and let's un-F it. Because I'm not lying for you. I got a mortgage to pay. I'm not going to do that. So, but today nobody wants to be a cop, even though they're paying the best money that's, ever in the country. But you still got to put an ass in a police car. And that's the problem. So when your selection pool is no longer older guys that were military veterans or people that have life experiences, and your pool is the kids that are getting out of high school that got picked on, the Walmart greeters. And I'm not dogging any of these people, don't get me wrong. But it's just people that aren't is common sense and logical thinkers, and a lot of them you're going to see. You're just going to see the younger incidents occur, or incidents occur with younger and younger folks. But like I said, that's a whole nother show, brother. I could go on that for 2 hours.
That would be it. That's like a round table talk there. You have a couple of officers on there, a couple social workers, I guess, to talk it through, but just to get both sides of it and show that you guys are human. And like you said, there's bad apples in every family. In the military, we have bad apples. First responders, bad apples.
Absolutely.
Joe on the street in his house has probably 2 bad apples. So everyone has bad apples. You just got to learn to weed them out. Like you said, I have bills to pay. I'm not going to cover for you. And that's a great way to look at it.
No, I told him straight up, when I was a sergeant, I just told my guys, look, dude, I got you. I'm like your father. I'll look out for you. I love you. I'll take care of you, but I'm not lying for you. I ain't going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So don't lie to me, and if there's something that you don't think Sarge needs to know about, well, guess what? You better not freaking tell me. That's the bottom line, So, I mean, that's the way I kept it. But no, all my, everyone I had were good people. They were on the job for the right reasons. I didn't know anybody that just ran around beating up people, and I did it for 20 years in the hood. I worked in the hood for 20 years, and there was no, what you see in the excitement and the way it's painted. It's just not like that, man. It's just not like that, So
yeah, that's definitely not reality. Now let's switch up here a little. You glossed over this earlier about you being in the movie. I think is that the Nothing Without You movie? Is that the one?
Nothing Without You? Yeah. So that was fun.
How much time were you in the movie?
We filmed a whole lot. I was a fugitive. He shot the movie, and he had an actor for a cop. And then him and I started talking. He started seeing how I acted on the job normally as a homicide detective. So one day he comes to me and says, "Kevin, I want to refilm all this stuff, and I want to put you in as the cop." So I'm actually a professional actor now because he paid me I think I got $400 or something like that. So I could say I'm a professional actor now. I even have an IMDb page, if you know what that is, International Movie Database page or something. I got one of those. I didn't realize it. But anyway,
nice.
But now so I'm a fugitive cop in the movie. And a lot of the scenes that we did do, which were really freaking cool, had to be cut out for brevity. But, he has me chasing a suspect and walking through a house with my gun out and, all the cool things like that. So I guess I was in it enough to understand that I was chasing this bad guy. So, it was fun, man. That was a lot of fun, That was a lot of fun to do that.
I'm sure that's a different change of pace too to do it, and you still had your mentality to being a police officer. Now you could just act it out instead of going through the I'm gonna get shot. I go down this road routine.
Right. Well, you know what? I actually that's the way I approached it. When I was actually when the camera started rolling, that's the way I actually approached it. I just put it in my head, because I've done it so many times, looking for people with my gun out. That, and I just kind of went with it like I always would. So it was just another good experience. That one we didn't really talk about me being one-legged because that's not what it was about. The first 48 episode we did, and I told him, I said, I'm not doing this episode unless, I throw something in there about being an amputee, because I want other amputees to know, this isn't end all, it's, when you lose your leg, it's flesh and bone. They didn't chop your damn head off. You still got your brain, whether it's demented or not. You still got the same personality,
It's always going to be demented. It don't matter.
Yeah. If you're crazy, you're crazy. It ain't going to matter, But it's just flesh and bone that that you're missing. So it's being an amputee is like 95% mental and 5% physical. And every day is the mind F, so.
Definitely, it definitely is. And we also talked in the green room about your music you do now, and you said you were doing some filming today, making music videos with another former Marine. How'd you get into that, and how's that going?
I've always played piano, and a lot of this stuff I put in that book that I wrote, but I always played piano, and I taught myself how to play. And then when I got older, I was able to buy some recording equipment probably about 15 years ago, maybe longer than that now. And I started writing songs and recording songs and writing my own lyrics and learning how to play better. And then, I put that down after probably about 3 to 4 years with the homicide years and being a sergeant and all that. So honestly, last February, I went to see my daughter who's in the Army. She's an Apache mechanic at Lewis McChord. So she had surgery. So I went up there to stay with her for about 6 weeks. And I bought me a $49 kit keyboard while I was up there because I couldn't bring mine with me. And I just learned how to play again. I taught myself, how to play the chords again and the music. So I started doing that. Actually, David Willis, I met, who we both know. I was talking to David Willis one time, and he told me about another guy named Rick Ames, who's a Marine and a Marine veteran. He's also a bass player, old guy like we are. And he's, man, you got to hook up with Rick. Rick's probably. So anyway, we ended up hooking up, and we hit it off, and so we're trying to get some stuff together now to play music, to go out and play. There's no money in music unless you're a Taylor Swift or, Bon Jovi or something. But, we're just trying to get together to play out and play songs and stuff like that. But meanwhile, I'm still recording my own music and writing my own songs and getting it mixed and mastered in a studio. So I have a song coming out called Crayon Pictures. It's going to be my first release on March the 29th. And we've been busy. It's like running around trying to make a music video for it and all this other crazy stuff. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. And then, like I said, today I was over at Rick's house and we were practicing. So, awesome. And he heard about you guys and he had a lot of good things to say about you. So
yeah, he jumps on every once in a while. All the other guys jump on and say, "It's Rick Ames, bitch," and they let him on here.
Yeah,
so.
Rick Ames, bitch. Yeah. I told him I was going to be on this tonight, but he probably went in the house and went to sleep or something. So
the one night he said he does go to sleep early. He's an early bird. He said, so I guess it's early right now. So
Yeah, that's the truth. He does, man. And tomorrow's Monday. He's got to work. So he's probably in bed right now, snoring already. But
Jake just jumped back in with another question for you. Very important
absolutely.
question. He said University of Kentucky, University of Louisville. Which one?
Florida Gators, baby.
Woo!
I'm from Pensacola, Florida. Florida Gators.
You got the dagger right there.
And I'm really hating the fact that Kentucky's beat us for the last 4 years. It's killing me. It absolutely is killing me there, buddy. But maybe one day we'll come back. Maybe one day we'll. I remember when Alabama was not a very good team. I remember those years before they became the dynasty. Years, yeah. Before they came the dynasties. So now Georgia and Clemson. So I'm a huge football fan, man. He's probably talking about basketball now.
That's probably what he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and see, I don't think that way. I'm from Florida, so everything's football, So anyway, that's. I'm a U of L graduate, so that's where I graduated business school from, was U of L. So I guess if I had to cheer for one or the other, it'd be U of L. Yeah.
He said he used to live right down the road in Milton. So.
Oh, hell yeah! My brother's first wife was from Milton. Oh, small world.
Another connection.
Yep, I know Milton. I know Milton well. That's when I don't know if you've been home lately, there, brother, but it's that place has grown up and it's busy as hell now. So it's not the same. It's not the same place we grew up in the '80s. The sleepy little Pensacola. So
a lot different now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no, good question. That's fun. Yep.
Yeah. So, Kevin, we talked about a lot of stuff in your life, a lot of things you've done and had went through. If you were given the opportunity, I should say, to stand in front of a new cadet class, a new cadet of police, what 3 bits of advice would you tell them to make them successful as police?
I guess it would have to be based upon my 3 biggest values, which is integrity is the first one, loyalty, and then just being honorable. But the first thing I would tell a recruit class is there's nothing personal about it. There's nothing personal at all. You can be called all the names in the book, you can call it everything in the world. It's not a personal business. When you're taking people's freedoms away, they tend to get pissed at you. So it's not a big deal. So don't take it personally. Number 2, check your ego. And checking your ego, stand down, brother, check your ego. The biggest thing that I used to do is act like a stupid cop, because a stupid cop is a cop that catches more people. Because when you act like a stupid cop, the bad guy thinks that you're stupid. But meanwhile, you're just sitting back like a fly on the wall watching everything they do. And then you nab them when the right time comes. So that's another thing I saw a lot of young cops. They had a big problem with just checking their ego, remaining humble, remaining calm, chilling out. Don't show all your hand, and then just, and don't lie. And the last one's don't lie, because that's what puts you in prison. Lying puts people in prison. And you can see that. You saw it in the military. I've seen it on the police department. Lying will put you in freaking prison, straight up. So those 3, those are the biggest 3 things. On top of that, necessary forces, at times. But, like I said, I was a big guy. I was 6'2", 245. I could pound the hell out of most people. Now, there are some big son of a bitches out there, right? But yeah. But I didn't. But just because I could didn't mean I was going to. And that's the other thing. So that that kind of goes with check your ego. It's just not personal, man. And that's what I would tell them, and that's what I have told them. I used to be a police trainer for the state of Kentucky, so that's what I would tell them.
What's the best way for someone to get in contact with you to maybe have a conversation like we did tonight on their show, or just to talk to you, pick your brain?
Absolutely. And I'm completely transparent. I talk to everyone and anyone that needs my help, or I don't charge a penny, because that's not what God wants me to do. He wants me to help other people before I move on with life. So the easiest way, hell, I'll give you my phone number over this there. I don't care. But I'm available. My email is Kevin Trees, KevinTreez at yahoo.com. My last name's with an S, but it's Kevin Trees with a Z at yahoo.com. It's also Kevin Trees 69 at Gmail. That's Kevin Trees with a Z 69 at Gmail. I'm also on Facebook under KEV Trees. They're more than happy to look me up there. I am on TikTok, Kevin Trees Music 1. And then my phone number, if you want to put it down there somewhere, it's 502-777-6589. And if somebody calls me that I don't want to talk to, I won't answer the phone.
And you can always hang up.
people think I'm crazy. Like, you just put your phone number on the air. I'm like, dude, you know what? I can find your phone number in about 5 minutes of looking through my Googling stuff, so whatever.
Simple. Yes.
Yeah. It's just not that hard. I can tell you about where you live, your kids, everything online, Google, if you know where to look. So anyway, no, I encourage everyone. Let's see, Kevin Trees 69 Gmail. Yeah. I encourage everyone, if there's a new amputee out there, or I don't know, I'm just, I would love to be able to talk to them and mentor them through, because it's an extremely difficult time. And the only person that can really mentor another amputee is another amputee. It's not like, I can't teach classes on how to recover from heroin because I've never been on heroin. Right. People want to know that the people that are helping them understand what the hell they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? They want validation. They want validity. They want a resume. Like, okay, Kevin Trees knows what the hell he's talking about. And talk about staying in a hospital. I've had 45 surgeries. I've stayed in a damn hospital. You know what I'm saying? So, that's just an example. So everyone feel free to please reach out to me if you want to talk, ask me questions, whether it's about music or the movie or First 48 or being an amputee or a cop. Or an Eagle Scout, I guess, or a football coach. I was a football coach for 6 years.
See, that's a whole other show. Football. There we go.
Yeah, I was a football coach for my sons. After being an amputee, I'd walk up and down that sideline, for a 2.5 hour game, maybe a 2 hour game, one-legged. So it was funny. Yeah. Good times, man. There's a lot of good times. I would, at this point in my life, I'm going to be 55 next month. Man, I don't think I would do it over again. I just don't, right. Because, this world's, we're in this world for such a short period of time that, I think the object of this game is to freaking get out of this world with helping as many people as possible, and I think that's just the game. I think that's the end game. So right. I wouldn't go back and redo it. I wouldn't change a thing. I've had an amazingly colorful, interesting life, and like I said, I wrote a book, I'm an author too. The name of the book is The Serious Business of Laughing at Life. So, and that's available on Google. I published that in 2011. So, that talks about, and I wrote that book for my children. So when I had my accident, they were only 3 and 6 years old. So they really didn't understand what happened, what all we went through. And the 20 times my wife and I should have been divorced. We're going on 30 years this year. And, Amen. All the times we should have been divorced, and all the times I did shitty things to her. She did shitty things to me. That's a whole nother show too, as to how we stayed together. But, it was just stressful. So I wrote the book so my children would understand the stress. And through writing the book, I talked everything about the accident, my hospital stay, all the trauma, all the turmoil I went through, everything, all the ups and downs and the heartaches, and then me getting back on the police department, So, that's available as well out there if somebody wants to read that. And I'm not trying to push that book because people go, oh, you're just trying to get rich. You know as well as I do. And, the authors aren't getting rich. He's not at $1 a book. So, no. so if anyone's out there listening to us talk, no, we're not getting rich being an author either. It doesn't work that way. Those days are gone, man.
Rick Ames just jumped on to say quick stop to say hey.
No, tell him to go to bed. Go to sleep, brother. You got to work in the morning. Nah, Rick's my brother. Rick and I, we connect real well. So we have a lot of fun.
I know he always pops on and always says he has to go. So it's awesome to have him on here. It's awesome to have you tonight. Hang out with us. We'll definitely have you back on, talk about other things that we wanted to talk about earlier. That'd be a whole show. And Kevin, this has been great chatting with you. Thanks for coming on.
Man, Rich, I do appreciate it, the opportunity. I'm flattered that I was asked. So thank you very much. And I hope to be able to do it again with you.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
Peace, bro.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Got a question about your VA benefits, healthcare, or eligibility? Go to va.gov, where you can access a new interactive chatbot to ask questions 24/7. One can still browse va.gov for information, but you can now ask specific questions to the chatbot, like what's the PACT Act? How do I apply for disability benefits? What's my claim status? You can access the new feature through va.gov's Contact Us page. Then click on the Start Chat button. The chatbot will continue to improve veterans' access to information about the benefits and services they've earned. This is one way VA is.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.